we as human beings are meant to achieve, to challenge, to grow, to explore, and to conquer. Choose your mentors and choose your role models carefully. Some people will look at the reality, some people will look at the dream, and some people will look at both, and some people will help provide steps to transform your reality into the dream. We are meant to continually grow and challenge. And that, I believe, is where happiness resides.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Aaron, and it's another episode of the Simply Overcoming podcast. Welcome back. Hey, so I know we skipped an episode last month, and so I'm sorry about that, but we're back, and we are swinging. And today's guest, I'm really excited about, Chris Kellie. And for the short amount of time that I've known Chris, I've really appreciated Chris in my life personally, and I've appreciated our conversation and our friendship. Chris called me today to talk about a few things, and we started conversing, and within, 30 minutes, we had discussed a few different things, including your desire and your love for writing. And I realized that I really have to have Chris on the show. And I know that everybody who is listening to the podcast, I know that you're going to enjoy this conversation. And I encourage you to listen. And if you have trouble understanding this episode, I highly recommend you can go and watch it on YouTube. You can go and watch it on Spotify. Do not just turn it off. You need to hear this story because this story is phenomenal. And I really hope that you enjoy it. So Chris, thank you for being on the podcast today.
Well, thank you for the introduction and the invitation.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. It wasn't a very fancy introduction, but I gave it my best shot.
Oh, it's real, so it's great.
Well, Chris, you have a really interesting story, and I don't know how, we were talking about before we started recording, I don't know how in depth you want to go into your story, but really what I appreciate about you is you have a story that you can share, and maybe there's somebody out there who's going through some of the same circumstances that you have in your life, and I know that your story could help uplift them. First of all, you have cerebral palsy, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and that's something that you've dealt with most of your life?
I've had it since birth. There was a birth mishap, and I was actually born dead. And so brought back to life, and this is the result.
Well, is this first of all, just give me a little background about yourself. What do you do for work, and who are you as a person, Chris?
Well, I'm currently a Salesforce consultant. It's in the business world and CRM, customer relationship management tool that I work with businesses, large and small, and work from home. One of the benefits of consulting in this day and age.
Yeah, no kidding. So how long have you really been working from home?
Oh, about 2 years. About 2
years. So this sort of happened after COVID or before?
Well, this was during COVID. When COVID hit, I was my job at that time. I got sent home, and then COVID continued, and I thought, you know what? I need to continue to grow. So I just stayed home and made a lifestyle out of it.
I love it. Man. It's amazing how technology has made it so that so many people can work from home, and it makes things very convenient, but it also means that you're kind of your own boss. You know, you've got to get yourself up and get yourself moving. You do have a boss somewhere, I imagine.
Oh, I definitely do.
Yeah.
And I'm judged by my output. And other than that, it's purely communication, discipline. I think that's what's great about this day and age that we're in. It really drives people to do what they love and really be self-disciplined to achieve what they want to achieve.
It's so interesting, Chris, because we're in this like strange time in the world right now where you can really teach yourself to do just about anything that you want. And in a world where everything is possible, it seems like nobody is out pursuing because we're being bombarded by information. Like we're almost being bombarded by too much information, right?
Well, we probably are. It's up to us to turn it off and to focus. And there's nothing wrong nowadays to be laser focused on what you want to do.
Yeah.
And the distractions can easily be avoided and ignored as they are kept at bay with the COVID society.
Talking about working from home, I have to ask you this because I know you're a people person. You love community. You love community. You love connection. I'm sure there's a lot of benefits to working from home. Are there any negatives to working from home?
Isolation.
Isolation. So the very reason why we're all doing this thing.
Oh yeah, there's so much drawback to the perceived benefit of what we're doing that I have to be intentional about getting my socializing in every day somehow, beyond a text message or beyond a Zoom call.
Hey, so I wanna shift things a little bit to your life and to your growing up years and what has made you who you are today. And I know that that's a whole can of worms, right?
Oh, sounds good. There's a lot there. I got about at least a few decades of experience there.
A few decades?
A few decades, just a few.
All right. So you're what, like mid-20s?
I wish. I just turned to my fourth decade, so early 40s.
All right.
Early 40s. I enjoyed the 90s and the 80s very much.
Those 80s, man. How were those 80s for you personally?
For me personally, they were very moving. And a lot happened in the 80s for me. A lot of moving around. A lot of growth. I mean, I was a kid, but still experienced the come home when it's dark mentality, and while having my own personal limitations to cope with.
Having those limitations growing up, how did that affect your friendships?
I was lonely. I would not say that we moved around a lot, probably once every 1 to 2 years. So with that, there was that barrier of short-time friendships, but also with having CP, it is a barrier. And in the 80s, I don't think society was as ready as in the 90s or the 2000s to take in those with handicaps. And even now I have trouble thinking about a disability versus a handicap. They're one and the same in my mind, and they're just a fact of life.
Yeah.
But with that, in the 80s, I didn't let it stop me.
Well, that's good. That's the important part, right? That's
Correct.
the important part, to not let it stop you. And being that this is something that you've had, your whole life, this isn't something that you had to sort of grow into or change into, because this has just been who you are.
Well, yeah, it has been who I am. What the growing and changing is as I grew up, I had to cut back. And what I did is, because the activity and the pushing the limits had a bigger cost afterwards.
Explain that a little bit.
Yes, very, very much so. It's a physical cost. One of my CP affects my speech, as you can tell, and my right side, right hand, right leg. I was big into football, baseball, basketball, and I had in baseball I had two mitts. One the mitt, and the other my mouth would be open, and many times I would catch the ball with my mouth.
Really?
Oh yeah. So there was a lot of injury. Also, as I grew older, there was a significant amount of recovery pain. And with that recovery pain in running, if I remember one year in middle school, we had to run a mile and a quarter, or walk or whatnot. Well, second year I was doing that. I spent the weekend in bed recovering from that because my hip couldn't stand it. So as I grew, my body said, wait a second, we can't handle this. We're not as limber as we once were.
As a young person growing up with those limitations, I mean, it sounds like you were not going to let those limitations stop you, but because of you jumping into life with both feet, you sort of hurt yourself a lot of times.
Well, yeah.
Because your body just couldn't handle what you wanted to do, and it also didn't allow you to keep up with some of the other young people.
Oh, definitely, yes. But it didn't stop me. An example is, it took me 6 months to learn to ride a bike.
Okay.
Which, those that know me now, that's probably the most hallmark thing that they think of, because I'm always on my bike.
You are always on your bike.
Exactly.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your bike.
My bike right now is a crossover with slick tires. I like road biking. Definitely, I'm like the somewhat of long haul miles. In the summer, it's great to go for a 20 to 50 mile ride. So
you love putting on the miles.
I love putting on the miles. It is one thing that is wonderful. It's an outlet to think and just be out on my bike and think, take in what's going on in life, and really talk with God about it.
You're a really smart guy, Chris. I noticed that the very first time that I met you. You're really smart. You've got a lot going on in up here, and so my question to you is: was there someone in your life, when you look back at your childhood, your growing up years, someone in your life that you can look back to as someone who made you who you are today?
There's probably not just one. It's community. My folks were a big part of what made me what I am today. They didn't limit me. They cautioned, but were very open with the realities of life. Very supportive if I wanted to do something, and we talked about it, and whether it was good to do or not. Growing up, I had teachers. Remember in high school, I had a music teacher that would take a lot of time and listen and advise and counsel and give advice, and it was transformational.
So maybe that's one of the reasons why you appreciate community so much today.
Oh,
maybe?
definitely.
Yeah.
That is one of the things, but I've always been one for community, one to be out doing and be active and be with people. It just, I have never been one to be sitting at home and being solitary. I think that it's an interesting split that, yes, I do have a disability or handicap, but also I have a personality and a character that does not necessarily drive with my condition.
Yeah. That's not a bad thing, is it?
No, it's not, but it's a yin and yang approach. So when, how do you reconcile the two when one is wanting a lot more than the other can give?
It sounds like your parents never really reined you in. They allowed you to go out and to learn and to grow and to do things regardless of your disability.
Oh, yeah. We're all within logic and reality and what was possible.
Sure.
It's funny, when you said that, I was thinking back to junior high. Probably about the third or fourth summer of going up to my grandparents. I go up there, and they are up in the mountains, and first stop was in a logging camp and reforestation. About the third year, I was set to go up, and the school I was going to at the time said that I made a big deal about how I would sacrifice my summers to be with my grandparents. Well, that's no sacrifice versus being home in the city with small or no yard to play in.
So you liked going and visiting your grandparents because
yeah.
it was in the country?
It was in the country, and they were transformational as well. Basically, I could do it. They said that if you want to do it, do it. And there was no limit. I was climbing all over heavy machinery, driving heavy machinery, really doing what kids of the 40s and 50s would do.
You know, I definitely didn't grow up in the 40s and 50s, but I did grow up with parents similar to yours in that they allowed me to do what I wanted to do. And it's so funny because there's so many things that we did as kids that parents would never allow their kids to do now. And I just think that's such a huge blunder to be reining your kids in and not allowing them to experience life. And yeah, sure, you might fall down, you might hurt yourself, but it's important to let your kids out there.
Oh, definitely. And with you saying that, it reminds me of the meme on Facebook about 80s kids and the mom saying, "Come home when the lights come on, when the street lights come on."
Yeah.
You would never tell your kids that today. Life is so different today than it was back then.
Yeah. Before we go any further, talking about when you were younger and the challenges that you faced, what would you tell those people who may have a limiting belief in their mind of what they can and can't do? What would you say to them?
I would say find a mentor, find somebody to help change that limiting thought process, because there's always a way. There's always a way to achieve what you want to achieve and be successful and have fun at the same time. If you can't have fun, there's a question of why you should keep doing it in the long run. There must be some sort of fun, some sort of sense of achievement. We as human beings are meant to achieve, to challenge, to grow, to explore, and to conquer.
So you hear that, everyone? Get out there and find yourself a mentor, right?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I wanted to include a story. Exactly a story. And this will give you a sense of type of mentors that are out there. I started cycling when I was 5. When I was 7, we lived in a housing complex, apartment complex, and my physical therapist made a home visit, and I went out playing and with my bike, riding around the complex. And right when she leaned in and looking at my folks, says, "And they may never ride a bike," I zoomed by the window and parted Yui at the end of the driveway. So I say that because choose your mentors and choose your role models carefully. Some people will look at the reality. Some people will look at the dream. And some people will look at both. And some people will help provide steps to transform your reality into the dream. One of the thing that I learned, probably 6 months ago, is fall forward, and that is so amazing. It equips you to take chances and take risks. And the meaning of falling forward is to don't be afraid to fail. If you take a step up out and fail and fall, you'll be in a different place than what you are if you did not do that. If you stayed where you were and you failed where you were, you might have taken a step back.
I can relate to that strongly personally, because it's so easy to be afraid to not take that step forward.
Oh, it is. It's you have to be intentional with that, and you have to choose what you do in your day, rather than enjoying some hobby of yours. You gotta challenge yourself, or rather than sitting and escaping reality in whatever form or manner you want to do, you got to move forward and challenge yourself in whatever manner, in whatever way. We are meant to continually grow and challenge. And that, I believe, is where happiness resides.
I want to talk to you about pursuing dreams and also a manner in which you pursue dreams, because I know somebody who has struggled in his own life. Nick Maniscalco, he's been on the podcast multiple times. He was in a car wreck about 12 years ago, and he got a traumatic brain injury, and it's changed his life forever. But he's told me that, sometimes he pursues things in his life just to prove people wrong. And that definitely can be a dangerous road to go down.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know that there's anything wrong with wanting to prove people wrong and maybe prove to yourself that you can do something. What are your thoughts on pursuing things to prove people wrong?
I wondered if you'd ask that.
Yeah.
It's an empty achievement. And there's a place for that, no doubt, but the achievement is not as sweet. Because along with that is a sense of internal thumbing your nose at people and saying, look what I can do. It's not memorable. And there's not as sweet as if you do something for the love and the desire for it.
So if you pursue something just to prove somebody wrong, at the end of that road is, did I just do this to prove somebody wrong? Like, why did I do this? You might even get to the end and try to remember why you did it.
Well, yeah, it's like, why did I do this? You proved them wrong, and what happened with that relationship once you proved them wrong?
Yeah.
Or where does it take you if you go with the intention to prove people wrong rather than the intention to achieve a goal?
So here's another one for you, Chris.
Okay.
And this is something that we were talking about a little earlier on the phone.
Okay.
And you're the one that brought this up, but it was really interesting, and I want to hear your experience with this, because I feel like maybe you do have experience with this, and so maybe you can shed some light on this, and that is using anger to overcome circumstances in your life.
Oh my word. Anger.
Talk to me about anger.
Anger can be destructive or constructive. A lot of times I think that people attribute anger to victimhood. And so with that, they get angry because they don't have what they want. Something is not the way they want it to be. A situation, a reality of life, and they shrink from that, go pull back into the hole, and they will live life apart from it. Whereas if you use anger to propel yourself forward in determination, that's probably a good thing. I don't think that anger is a bad emotion. We're told many times, and here comes my faith. Here comes my faith, Aaron. God gets angry. Christ was angry. But it's what they did with anger, and how they processed that anger, and how their actions, in spite of or because of it, is what's the big thing of what's the anger. Now I've had to learn of what's appropriate and what not. That's a kid growing up. We hear the classic kid gets angry, kid lashes out, kid gets in trouble. Well, kid might get angry, and kid might really needs to have the perception of what needs to change to make it a better situation, whatever they're angry at.
Okay, I like it. I like where this is going. I appreciate you bringing this to the forefront of my mind, because I've never even thought about anger in that way. I've always, if somebody were to ask me, is there a good anger, I would probably, the first thing on my mind would be no. Like, obviously, like, you shouldn't be angry. But I like what you're saying. Keep going down that road. I want to hear more about anger and how anger can be used in a positive way. And I think you're right. There's many instances in the Bible where anger was used constructively.
Mm-hmm. So
that's interesting. So how have you used anger constructively in your life, Chris?
Oh my goodness. I should have follow-up examples if I bring something up. I think constructively is in study. Something I'm doing right now is I'm studying for work. And in that study, there's a lot of practice tests or practice quizzes. And my perfectionistic side says, I want to get this right.
Oh.
And so seeing that wrong answer says, okay, something's wrong. Now my stubbornness takes me back to the content to study more, and not accepting that wrong answer.
So that's a bit of a form of anger and discontent.
Exactly, discontent. I think another thing I really work with is perception. Perception of what's going on around me. Reality.
Mm.
If it's not going the way I perceived as appropriate or perceived as desired, it ruffles my feathers. Now, I've gotten to the point where I'm thinking, okay, why is this the case? And being able to step back and evaluate what's happening, versus just trying to correct the situation at the moment.
Something that comes to mind for me is somebody who's trying to learn how to do a backflip on a snowboard, right? Or maybe do a handstand or something of that nature, and you try and you try and you try and you fall down and you fall down and you fall down, and you're getting pissed, right?
Oh yeah,
you're pissed off.
Yeah, exactly.
But how are you pissed off? How are you using that anger? Are you saying, screw this, I'm done with snowboarding, it's over, I'm finished? Or are you using that to get yourself back up the mountain and to just go for it again, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I'm thinking is you need to get yourself back up the mountain and do it again. Now I'm thinking about snowboarding. it might not be a good idea for me to go snowboarding.
Yeah.
Having this conversation, probably about 3 nights ago, in which, do I want to risk breaking my left arm? The arm that I do everything with? And that is where you got to use some reality. And what we were thinking about, talking about a couple minutes ago. You got to be smart in what you do.
Yeah, I mean, there is a part of reality with everything in life, right? I always love the example that I've heard a podcaster use that I love to listen to is just, Chris, I could try as hard as I possibly can right now in my life, as hard as I could, to become the next LeBron James, right?
Yeah.
It ain't going to happen, right?
Oh,
I mean,
that's
the reality that you're going to have to face. There's a lot of things that I am absolutely not going to do. And to be honest with you, I'm probably never going to be entering the X Games with the Winter Olympics in some snowboarding competition. Like that's just not going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. There are certain like limitations in life, and so that's sort of that realism. But you also have to be careful because those limiting beliefs in your life can manifest themselves in places where you actually could do that thing, but you're so used to looking at everything in a negative light that you might just say, well, I just can't do this. I mean, like, I think I see how much time you spend on your bike. Like, that is your passion. You love to get out in nature. You love to push yourself, and you love to bike. And that's awesome. And everybody's got to have that like thing that they're like obsessive about, that hobby that they're just obsessive about. And that's so nice to have. And also I love, I love hiking and it's similar in that when I'm out there, it gives me that time to just think and to reflect. And some of the best times that I have spent, just coming up with ideas, a lot of ideas that I've come up with have been out hiking, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm sure it's probably the same thing with you biking.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. I get off a bike ride and I'm not only excited about the time and the distance that I achieved, but also whatever ideas or wild schemes that I've thought up while on the bike.
It's really kind of a form of like meditation, isn't it?
Well, it is.
I mean, going out and doing that repetitious pedaling, doing that repetitious walking, being in nature, hearing the wind, feeling the wind, hearing that creek, that waterfall, hearing those birds, all of those sounds coming in together and creating this space of thought and reflection.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And you were talking earlier about knowing what to focus on and what not to, and knowing your limits. There's a prayer there, Serenity Prayer of, Lord, let me know what I can do, what's in my control, what's not out of my control, and know the difference.
Oh.
And to be able to go through those steps in your mind, and to embrace an idea or discard an idea, or maybe let that idea transform in your mind to something that you can do, that you're capable of doing, versus beating your head against the proverbial wall and saying, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, and I can't do this.
So a little while ago, you were talking about a mentor, a music teacher.
Yes.
What has playing the piano done for you in your life?
Oh, my word. Playing the piano. Oh, I almost can't remember when I started. It's a universal instrument that you can sit down and pluck away with, and it's the universal basic instrument that most kids learn. Now I play the piano one-handed, mainly on the treble notes. I have thought about doing some transposition of music, so that merging the treble clef and the bass clef into one clef. But haven't gone there yet. But music has always been a part of me. And really, I landed on the French horn. Something that I wanted to get back into, but it is something that you can play with. I think the only instrument that you can play one-handed
Is the French horn?
is the French horn.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, the note, the valves of the French horn is left-handed, and usually French hornists put their right hand in the bell to add some intonation and make the sound a bit richer. So those two instruments, I want desire probably when I was young is for the piano. It actually by looking at other people, said, "Oh, that's cool. I want to do it well. Why don't you do the French horn?" Well, the piano has evolved and stayed with me throughout the years, and it's been an interesting therapeutic practice and habit to have playing the piano.
I kind of want to talk to you about, your Christian walk, because that's really important to you in your life.
I think the biggest thing with God, parents mold their children intentionally or unintentionally. My parents were very intentional, and at a very young age, I learned the story of why I have CP and why I'm still alive. I mean, really, God brought me back to life. I should be dead. I shouldn't have had the number of years I've had on Earth. So with that thought, I have to be honest with myself and really abide by that drive, by that. I don't want to say predestination, because that's really, I have the freedom and choice, but that objective that God's given me. So coming back, living with God, following God, is in a way a feel good, as it fulfills an identity that was passed on to me. Now, some people would say that, will question, why do you have CP? Why did God give that to you? Probably, I would not say God gave it to me. Rather, God allowed it to happen. I'm raised from the dead, and I was dead when I was born, and resuscitated, and CP in the manner that I have is lack of oxygen to the brain. Well, he brought me back to life. He could have amended and repaired and made that part of my brain work just fine. Well, he didn't. But thinking about it, I was reading Job, the book of Job. Job, for those of you that are not familiar with the book of Job, the idea is the devil went to the heavenly courts. God says, "Where have you been?" It's like, "Oh, I've been roaming around." And God decided to be a breaking father, and says, "Have you considered my servant Job?" I'm like, yeah. You do so much for him. How come he will abide by you, follow you, and love you? Like, well, I don't think so, God said. And this is in the Chris Kellie shorthand.
I'm enjoying the Chris Kellie I enjoy the Chris Kellie shorthand. It almost feels a lot more impactful when it comes straight from the Chris Kellie shorthand.
Well, okay, well, continue, and I hope I abide by the story, and if there's a deviation, folks, I apologize. And I pray that I do not. But anyways, the 40-some-odd chapters of Job is a illustration of God trusting Job to choose to continue to follow him, as it is a illustration to the heavens and the rest of the worlds. I don't think that we're the only created beings in the universe. We just haven't found the other ones, other planets with created beings. But they're looking on and they're seeing that Satan just rips Job up one side, down the other, causes lots of pain, lots of trouble, lots of turmoil. And Job cries and complains, but he does not deviate. He gets to the end of the story. And spoiler factor, folks, gets to the end, and Job turns to God and says, "What gives? What gives? You owe me this, God. What gives? Why this?" And God spends a chapter and a half just saying, "Do you know how this operates? Were you here when this other entity was formed? And do you know why this other part of nature works the way it does?" And Job says, "Oh, crud, I don't." And they somehow make amends, and God blesses him. So the meaning now that for me is, I may not like my handicap, and I may not like my condition, but I could vegetate in front of the TV, or with video games, or just stare at the ceiling and say, "Well, it's me," or I can, make the best of it, live up to my inheritance, the definition of who I am, and see what happens in life. One thing that I've learned is we only see a step or two in the future. Our circle of influence, our realm of influence of what we can control and what we can see, is very small. Growing up, I played Super Mario Brothers on the original Nintendo. Yes, I'm dating myself now.
Oh, buddy.
And
I love it.
And there is a world, it's either in Super Mario Brothers or in Zelda, where you cannot see a thing but 2 inches around your character.
Oh.
Life nowadays, life in general, we only see 2 inches around us at any given time. Whether it's what we want to do, whether it's the future, whether it's remembering the past, whether it's seeing what a loved one is involved with 100 miles away or 1,000 miles away. We only see a little bit. And we need to do what we can to enjoy and fulfill that what is in our realm of influence, which in turn, that realm of influence will shift and you'll see something more.
Can you look back in your life now? I like that you've brought it to this point, because I always like to ask people, can you look in your life? Can you look back in your life now, Chris Kellie, and see maybe why things have happened to you the way that they have in your life, or at least how you have been able to turn negatives into a positive, and maybe where God has worked in your life in that way? And every once in a while we have this issue of the sign falling.
Oh, yes, I've seen that in many regards. And the sign falling is a sense of comic relief in the right time of the interview. But yes, I have seen where things have shifted. I have seen how I have learned lessons from bad experience that have transformed, where I can see where choices that I've made, right, wrong, and different, have transformed my life, and I'm where I am today because of those choices.
Going back to having a bigger purpose for people out there who are listening to the podcast, you may be wondering, like, where is my place in the world? And you hear me talk about this all the time, but you may be wondering, like, where is my place? What can I be doing in this world? And I'm telling you, the people that you interact with every single day, that can be where you shine. That can be where your place is in the world. Right? That's a great place to start. Your family, your friends, the people that you surround yourself with. Just the simple act of smiling at somebody. You don't know what that's going to do for somebody.
Oh, you don't.
And so, that can be the start of your bigger purpose. And I can tell you right now, I appreciate you, Chris, because every single interaction that I've had with you has been so positive. And because of that, you are teaching me. I mean, the things that you're sharing with us today, you're teaching me so many things, and I really appreciate that about you. And so anybody can interact with another person and be the light to somebody that is living in a dark world in their own mind. Chris, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for being on the show.
Well, thank you for the invitation, Aaron. I appreciate you as well, and you've been a huge encouragement, and this show is a great endeavor. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I hope that we can spend some more time having these deep conversations together, because I've learned a lot about you today, Chris, and I hope to learn more and gain your friendship, and I hope that I deserve that. So. Well, hey guys, thank you. If you've made it to the end of the episode, I hope you really enjoyed this episode. If you think you have a story that you'd like to share on the Simply Overcoming podcast, I'd love to hear from you. I've handed out my personal number in the past, and I've heard from some people, but I want to hear from more. So reach out. You can go and find us on Instagram, Simply Overcoming Podcast, and send me a personal message. I will get back to you. I want to talk to you about your personal journey and your personal life. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we are on YouTube now, and we also have video on Spotify. So you can watch us on Spotify, you can watch us on YouTube. And so if you want to see this face, if you want to see us converse, this is really exciting stuff. You might want to go watch. And so anyway, until next time, have a great day. Bye-bye.